Alright, I'm coming at you guys with this short video again because you know they say that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites, which are God's chosen people. But in actuality, we all are Gentiles, man. Even the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We know better than the other nations, even though this doctrine out here that's saying that the doctrine is that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are God's chosen people who he made a covenant and gave the laws to, and that's what makes us better than the white man and all the other nations, the Chinese and stuff. But in actuality, that we all the same, man. Now, I'm gonna show you the only way you can be counted as the same as the other heathen nations. Even though you may say you're an Israelite, as a black, Hispanic, and Native American, how can you be counted the same as the other heathen nations? I'm gonna show you. So this is Romans 7 and 14. Well, let's look at Romans chapter 7 and verse 12. It says, "Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, and just and good." So what makes you holy? Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, right? So Romans 7 and 12 says the law is holy. Go to Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Deuteronomy 7 and 6 says, "For thou art holy people." Now, who is he talking to? He's talking to the children of Israel. So it says, "For thou art holy people." Now, what made the children of Israel holy? We already showed you in Romans 7 and 12, it says, "For the law is holy." So when the Most High says in Deuteronomy 7 and 6, "For thou art holy people," we already know that the Most High gave Israel what? The law, statutes, and commandments. So that's what makes him special, because he says, "For thou art holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth." So being an Israelite, being an Israelite is not important, man. What's important is that the laws and statutes and commandments was given to Israel, and it wasn't given to all the other nations. So when you start taking pride and you start taking glory in your features, you may say black people, black man, black woman are the gods and goddesses of the earth. You understand? That ain't true, man. You understand? Because we want to associate our nationality as Israel. We want to associate our nationality with our features. You understand? If you don't have a broad, big nose, you're not an Israelite. If you don't have thick lips, you're not an Israelite. If you don't have melanated skin, you're not an Israelite. If you don't have kinky hair, you're not an Israelite. You understand? We associate our features with a nation, and that's far from the truth. That shouldn't even be. You understand? Because what makes you a true Israelite of God, because being an Israelite is being a descendant of Jacob. Now we know that the promise went from Abraham, Isaac to Jacob. And Jacob had 12 sons from 4 different women. And these 12 sons that he had makes up the 12 tribes, which is ultimately blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But being an Israelite is not good enough. What really gets you in the kingdom is keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because you can be an Israelite and still end up being destroyed. And also being an Israelite, like I said, don't have nothing to do with the commandments. The only reason why we say that, because the commandments, the promise was made from Abraham to Jacob. You can be an Israelite and be destroyed, man. Watch this. This is Zechariah 13. I'm going to show you this. Yeah. So this is Zechariah 13, right? Zechariah 13, verse 8. It says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. So it shall come to pass that in all the land, said the Lord, that 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die." Meaning that 2/3 of Israel, which is 66.6%, which is actually 666. 66.6% of the nation of Israel, which is 2/3, will be cut off and die. So to be an Israelite, that ain't really what's hitting to be an Israelite. You understand? The main thing what's significant is that you keep the law, statutes, and commandments as an Israelite, because those are the true Israelite. Those are the true elect of the nation of Israel, the ones who keep the commandments. You can be an Israelite and still destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Because we reading it. Zechariah 13 verse 8 says that 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Zechariah 13 verse 9, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say it is my people. So it seems like the only ones that consider God's people are the 1/3, which is 33.3%, I believe. You understand? And so that the 1/3, the Most High say that he would call them his people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. So the Most High ain't really giving a damn about you being an Israelite, man. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Most High don't care about you being an Israelite alone. What the Most High really cares about is you keeping these commandments. He don't care about you being an Israelite, because you can still be an Israelite and end up destroyed, man. You understand? But we want to associate our features with being an Israelite. Oh, if you ain't got a broad, wide nose, you're not an Israelite. If you don't have thick lips, you're not an Israelite. If you don't have melanated, rich skin, you're not an Israelite. If you don't have nappy ass hair, you're not an Israelite. If you're not black, Hispanic, and Native American descent, you're not an Israelite. Well, newsflash: black, Hispanic, and Native American descent with broad nose, thick lips, kinky hair can still have their asses destroyed. Because at the end of the day, what all matters is you keeping the laws. So in actuality, man, when you look into it, that we all are Gentiles. What makes the special people is the laws, statutes, and commandments that was given to them. So we're not going to say that the Most High didn't give the laws, statutes, and commandments to Israel. But that don't mean that Israel is all special. Because the only Israelite that is counted as a true child, a true daughter of him, is those who keep the commandments. Here go another one. Watch this. This is Romans chapter 9. In the New Testament, Romans chapter 9. And let's see what verse. Romans 9 and verse 6. Not as though the word of God have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. See that? So just because you are of Israel, Israel is another word for Jacob. Just because you come from Jacob, it says in Romans chapter 9, verse 6, not though the word of God have taken none effect, for they that are not all Israel which are Israel. So just because you come from Jacob and you thinking that your nationality is going to get you in the kingdom, you can be an Israelite and still be counted not of Israel, man. This is Romans 9 and 6. It says, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. And that's talking about you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans thinking that your nationality is going to get you liberated. You thinking that your you just because you've been an Israelite, you thinking that that's going to save you, man. But it's not.
I'm about that life, 'cause I'm an Israelite. An Israelite. You about that life? Yep. I'm about that life, 'cause I'm an Israelite. An Israelite.
What's really going to save blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans is keeping God's commandments. If blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans don't keep God's commandments, they count it just as the same as the other nations, man. So enough of this, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Enough of this, Shalom Athwa, Yahweh Shemi Awashai, Kwam Yasha'Allah, Kal Halal, Yahweh Shemi Awashai. Enough of that shit, man. You understand? Because you doing that and you glorifying your nation, but you're not even an Israelite. You're Israelite, but you're not really the elect or a true son or daughter of God unless you keep the commandments. So at the end of the day, what all matters if you keeping the commandments, man. You understand? Another one I'm going to show you. Another one I'm going to show you, man. This is Proverbs 7 and 2. So you just counted as a heathen if you don't keep even if you are an Israelite, you ain't keeping the commandments. You a heathen. This is Proverbs 7 and 2. It says, keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of your eye. That's what's going to save you. Because he said, keep my commandments and live. So you can be an Israelite and don't keep no commandments, and you're not going to live. You're going to be destroyed. You're going to be dismantled by God. Proverbs 7 and 2 again says, keep my commandments and live. The commandments we know was given to Israel, but not all of Israel is keeping them. But they think just glorifying their nationality is going to save them. No, man. This is Psalms 147. 19 and verses 20. Psalms 147, 19. It says, he showed his word unto Jacob. That means that he gave the laws and the commandments to Jacob. His statutes and his judgments into Israel. Because Jacob is Israel. So it's telling you that right there who he showed his word to. Basically who he gave the laws and commandments to. It says he gave him his judgments, his statutes, and all that stuff. He gave them to Israel, right? Psalms 147 verse 20. He has not dealt so with any nation. What does that mean? He didn't give the other nations his commandments. He didn't tell the other nations, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. He told the nation of Israel that. But you can still be an Israelite and decide not to keep the commandments of God and be counted as a heathen. So at the end of the day, it's not about your nationality. It's about obedience to the law. Because I get so tired of these niggas out here, man, thinking that their nationality, just being an Israelite alone, is going to save them. No.
I'm about that life, cause I'm an Israelite. An Israelite. You about that life? Yep. I'm about that life, cause I'm an Israelite. An Israelite.
Being an Israelite alone is not going to save you. Because you can be an Israelite and you can act as another heathen nation and be counted as a heathen, man. Psalms 147, 19 and verses 20. This is verse 20. Psalms 147 verse 20. He has not dealt so with any nation, and as far as his judgments, they have not known them. So the other nations didn't receive the commandments of God. Only the nation of Israel. But that don't mean you're going to be saved. The only way you're going to be saved if you stand on the commandments. That's the only way you're going to be saved. If you stand on the commandments of God, man. That's the only way. Matthew 19, 17. And he said unto him, why callest thou, let's go back up. Matthew 19, 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? Matthew 19, 17. He said unto him, why callest me good? There is none good but one, and that is God, which is the Most High. But if thou would enter into life, this is what the Messiah told this certain guy. If thou would enter into life, keep the commandments. Keeping the commandments, it allows you to be perfect. You understand? Because when the Bible says you should be perfect, it ain't talking about you should be flawless. You understand? Because that's what they call perfect today. But when it says be perfect, it's talking about keeping the commandments. So he says, if you want to enter life, keep the commandments. Matthew 19 and 18, he said unto him, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness. Honor your father and your mother, and thou shalt love your neighbor as thyself. Matthew 19 and 20, the young man said unto him, I have done all these things from my youth up. He said, what else does I lack? What else do I need to do? Matthew 19, 21, the Messiah said unto him, if thou would be perfect, go and sell what you have and give to the poor. And then it said you have treasure in the heavens, and come and follow me. Matthew 19, 22. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. He was very rich. So it's hard for a rich nigga to enter into the kingdom, man. Like all these celebrities and rock stars and entertainers, stuff like that. It's hard for them to enter the kingdom, because entering the kingdom, it means sacrifice, man. Everybody not willing to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. You understand? So being an Israelite, just being an Israelite is not going to save you. You got to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. And the more you have, it's going to block you off from doing that. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to close this, man. Because what made Israel a special people, man, is the laws. You talking about you an Israelite. You talking about you better than somebody. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They want to say that they better than somebody. You're not better than anyone if you ain't keeping no commandments. You counted the same. Talking about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we the chosen. We better than the white man. We better than the Chinese man. We better than the Japanese man. We better than the Arabs, Africans, and so forth. No, we doing the same as these other nations. We are them. Because to be special is to be one of a kind. But if you're doing what they are doing, you're not better than them. Didn't Jeremiah say that? Learn not to wear the heathen. You understand? Did not the Most High say that in Leviticus, the 11th chapter? Did he not say that? Let's go into that, man. Leviticus 11 and verse 44, he says, "For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves. Ye shall be holy, for I am holy." Now, what holy means? We already showed you in Romans 7 and 12, the law is holy. So the Most High gave the children of Israel the commandments, and he wanted them to keep the laws. "You shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So the Most High said we shouldn't defile ourselves by eating unclean food, certain unclean foods among the earth. You claiming you're Israelite, but if you sitting over here and you eating unclean food with the rest of the nations, you counting as them. You're not different. You're not special. The only way you're going to be special if you walk in these commandments, because when you walk in these commandments, automatically you're not going to do what the other nations are doing. But just to say that, just to try to exalt yourself as being an Israelite and say that you better than the other nations, you can be an Israelite and still have your ass destroyed, man. You can be an Israelite living the customs, traditions, and manners of the heathen and be counted as them. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this, man. Watch this. This is in the New Testament, one of the Gospels. I want to show y'all this. Watch this. So, guys, this is St. John 7 and 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, "Where will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go into the dispersed, which are the scattered? Will he go to the scattered ones among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?" So you can see right there, man, the scattered ones that was among the Gentiles was the Israelites. Because the scattered ones was Israel was scattered. So Israel being the dispersed, the scattered ones, they was among the biological Gentiles. And the disciples asked the question, would the Messiah go to the scattered Israelites among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? This is St. John 7 and 35. So Gentiles is there twice to let you know that there's two types of Gentiles. A biological Gentile, you know what I'm saying? That is a Gentile by birth. And then an Israelite that decides to practice the customs and traditions and manners of the Gentiles. And so the reason why I said that you can be an Israelite, and if you ain't keeping the commandments, you can be counted as a Gentile, man. And you had a lot of Israel that was in remote areas, different areas like in Asia, Asia Minor, Rome, Greece, Italy. You had Israelites that were scattered out among these regions, and they was not keeping the laws, and they was known as Gentiles, even though they was Israelites. So at the end of the day, what's really count? At the end of the day, if you keep the commandment, you can be an Israelite all you want, but you still be destroyed. How you will be destroyed? By not keeping the commandments. So what makes us a special people? Keeping God's commandments. You're not special just because you're an Israelite. You're special to be an Israelite and keeping God's commandments. Now this is the last book, chapter and verse I want to show you guys. This is Matthew 18 and 17. Matthew 18 and 17. People think their nationality alone is going to get them saved. No, man. Keeping these commandments was going to save you. Matthew 18, 17. Alright. It says in Matthew 18, 17. Let me back up a little bit. Matthew 18 and 15. Matthew 18, 15. "Moreover, if your brother shall trespass against you, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone." So basically, go and tell him what he did wrong. Right? "If he shall hear you, thou hast gained your brother." Okay, he hear you out and be like, "All right, man, I know I did wrong. I'm sorry." If he hear you, you have gained your brother. Right? Matthew 18, verse 16. "But if he will not hear you," basically you don't told him about his fault. And you like, "I don't give a fuck, man. I don't care about that." You know what I'm saying? You don't told him that he was wrong, and he failed to acknowledge that he was wrong. "But if he would not hear thee, then take with you one or two more that in the mouth of two or three witnesses every word may be established." So he won't hear you out, right? You go get 2 or 3 more brothers, right? And if he shall neglect to hear them, because they don't told him about what he did was wrong. Matthew 18, 17. "And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it to the church. Now we know this is not talking about a building. The church is an assembly of people, like basically a group of people. You understand? Tell it to the assembly. Tell it to the congregation. Tell it to the church. But if he would neglect to hear the church, basically the assembly, the congregation of people, let him be into thee as a heathen man and a publican. So right now, this is the Israelite man. This is an Israelite man. But he ain't keeping the commandments because he won't, because you put him to the side, you told him about his fault. And he failed to acknowledge what he did wrong. He won't own up. You understand? He won't humble himself and own up and accept the fact that he did wrong. You don't got 2 or 3 witnesses too to show him up, and he still failed to acknowledge that he did wrong. He won't. It says, so after that, even though he an Israelite, in Matthew 18 and verse 17, it said, let him be counted as a heathen man. The reason why I'm pointing this out, because you can be an Israelite and don't be keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. You're not operating correctly in the civil law, because the civil law is treating your brothers and sisters with dignity and respect, and you're not acting according to the civil law. So let him be counted as a heathen man, even though you're Israelite. And that's what it's all about. You can be an Israelite not keeping the commandments and be counted as a heathen man. So don't think just you being an Israelite is going to get you in the kingdom. Don't think that you being an Israelite is going to save you on the day of the destruction. But truly what will save you if you being an Israelite and keeping the commandments of God, because that's what makes us entitled to the kingdom. Keeping the commandments. Doing what God says. Not just being an Israelite. Not just because you got broad nose, thick lips, melanated skin, kinky hair. Not because you play sports the best. Not because you play basketball and football. Not because you dominate rap, dancing, poetry. Not because of those things. Because that's what we like to use when we go to Deuteronomy 7 and 6. When it says, thou art special people. Oh man, we dance the best. We rap the best. We sing the best. We play sports the best. You understand? We draw the best. We paint the best. It ain't because that when it says, but thou art special people, that don't have shit to do with what we dominate. That when it says we are a special people, what made us special is God's commandments. What made us special is when he chose to give us the laws when he could have gave them to any other nation. You understand? That's what make us special, man. Not because we dominate entertainment and sports and things. Not because of that, man. You understand? Psalm 78 and 5. Psalms 78 and 5. And this is what it says. For he established a testimony in Jacob, and he appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. Psalm 7, 8, and 6, that the generations to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who shall arise and declare them to their children. See that? So Psalm 7 and 8, beginning in verse 5, say he established a testimony in Jacob. He appointed a law in Israel. That's what makes us special, man. Not because you can play basketball. Not because black folks play basketball the best, play football the best, can tick and dance the best, can paint and draw the best, can entertain the best, can dance and rap the best. That ain't got shit to do with us as a special people. What determines the specialness of us being different from other nations is that we walk in these commandments. That shit ain't got nothing to do with extracurricular activities. You understand? Even though we try to squeeze that in, it ain't got nothing to do with that. So I just felt like I'd point that out, man. Oh, we better than the white man. How? How we better than the white man? We gonna do what the white man doing. The only thing what makes us better than the white man is keeping God's law, because we count it. exactly the same as the Edomites out here, man. Share the video with family and friends. Shalom.